Hey guys, in this video we're going to be doing some regular hub maintenance on the Humvee. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is we're going to be checking over the spindle nuts. We're not replacing them, we're just inspecting them. So I'm going to show you guys how to inspect them. We're going to be checking out the lock washers and just going over all the hubs on this truck, just making sure everything is all good. And then also we're going to be changing out the gear oil in the hubs. This is something that should be done like once a year, depending on how much you drive your truck, maybe twice a year if you drive it a lot. And also 100% I would do this if you first get your Humvee, because who knows when the last time this was done on your truck, and also who knows if the guy even did a correct job on it. So definitely for your safety and the safety of others, I would highly recommend following this and at least checking the spindle nuts and just making sure that they're all good before you start driving your truck on the road. First things first, we're going to start by jacking the truck up. But before I jack the truck up, I'm going to chock the wheels. Don't want this thing moving at all while I'm jacking it up or while it's up in the air. After jacking the truck up, I like to put a jack stand under the control arm, keep the jack under the control arm as well, and then when I take the tire off, I slide the tire underneath the body of the truck, kind of underneath the frame. That gives you 3 points of safety. So in case one fails, you still have 2 other points. So if your jack fails, your jack stand and then the tire should possibly save you. Like to do this as safe as possible, and I don't want to see anybody getting hurt. So just think about that when you're working on your truck, especially when you're taking the tires off. A little side note while we're removing the tires, a lot of times I see that the threads for the lug nuts are actually like coated in rust or might even have a few coats of paint on there. Just recently I've started to put anti-seize on the threads whenever I go ahead and put the lug nuts back on. It just protects them and helps the lug nuts come off a lot easier next time you go to take it off. But also, if I break down, I'm probably not going to have my air impact gun with me. So I'm going to be doing that by hand. It would be a lot easier if the threads are all good and the lug nuts come off somewhat easily and not just completely stuck on. So just a possibly saving myself for the future, or any of you guys. So try to do that next time and see how it works. Now we got the tire off, I like to go ahead and start cleaning the hub. We want to get all that dirt and grime off there, because when we're going to be opening up the hub, we don't want any of that going inside. Moving on to draining the hub. The drain plug is on the bottom side of the hub, and it uses a 5/16 Allen key. So I'm going to use a 5/16 Allen key socket on this. A lot of times these plugs are kind of hard to get off and they're rusty. So what I like to do is I'll clean it off on the bottom, heat it up with a torch, just enough for everything to expand and kind of loosen a little bit. And then I give it a few taps with a hammer, just light taps. It kind of, I don't know if it really does anything, but kind of just, I've heard it breaks up any like crustiness inside of the threads or anything like that. So I just do that. I've never really had a problem getting one of these off using that method. Moving on to the side of the hub, we're going to remove the fill plug, and this uses a 1-inch socket. Probably don't want to heat that up because it does have like a plastic or like a Delron almost little washer on there just to seal it up a little bit better, so that would probably melt. Now we're going to go ahead to the front and we're going to remove the little plug or cover that covers up the bolt for the CV shaft. The CV shaft is held into the hub by one bolt on this side. So we're going to take it off, we're going to remove it, clean it up, and put it back in, retorque it, and use a little bit of thread locker on there. To remove this, I just use the bare tip of my socket or a socket extension. Now that we have this bolt out, we're gonna go ahead and clean all the threads, make sure there's nothing on there. Then we're gonna reapply some blue Loctite and then put it back inside and retorque it. This bolt, the half shaft to drive gear bolt, then gets torqued down to 37 foot-pounds or 50 Newton meters. On this side, I had to press on the brakes at the same time as torquing it because it was trying to spin the wheels. So now that the bolt going from the CV shaft to the geared hub is all good and torqued, we're gonna go ahead and clean off the cover bolt or plug that goes in front of that. And we're gonna reapply some thread tape on there just so it doesn't leak. When reinstalling this access plug, you don't want to torque it down very much at all. So probably around 10 foot-pounds of torque or 15 Newton meters of torque. Now we're gonna move on to the good stuff. We're gonna take the back access cover off so we could actually check out the spindle nut. Might have to whack the little steering arm right there to pop that off, but it should come off fairly easily. We're gonna actually hand rotate the hub to where we could see the locking tabs right there. So what you should have is 2 locking tabs in 2 grooves of the spindle nut itself. So if you only have the 1 groove spindle nut with the single locking tab, I'd highly recommend just upgrading to at least this one. I have another video on how to actually install new spindle nuts or just replace the spindle nuts with the tabs and everything. So I'll link that right here, and probably in the top right corner it should pop up, but go check that out if you are looking to actually replace your spindle nuts. What we're looking for is, again, you want those 2 tabs on the spindle nut locking it in place, but you also don't want any side-to-side or rotational movement of the spindle nut itself. If it does have any movement, that means it's probably not torqued properly, so you're going to want to take that off and redo that. Since there's no movement back and forth on the spindle nut, and both tabs look good on this, we're going to go ahead and put this back together. Before we put it back together, we're going to clean off the mating surface between the actual hub and that little back cover so we can get a nice seal on there with no leaks. I like to use a little razor to scrape off any junk that's on there, and then I'll wipe it with a rag that has some brake cleaner on it. I don't like spraying brake cleaner on this. You might get some on the actual bearing of the whole hub assembly, and that's not good. You don't want to dry them out or anything. So just going to go ahead and spray it on a rag and just wipe it. Might even have to get some wire brush action in there just to get off any hard to get stuff. Now that the surfaces are all clean, we're going to dab some sealant on there. I like to use black RTV or any good anaerobic sealant works as well. Also, try not to get too messy with this. You don't want a bunch like squeezing out all over the place, possibly squeezing inside near the bearing or anything like that. You don't want any contamination to end up falling off or anything. So just kind of don't put too much, but don't put too little. You know what I mean? Just do the right amount. Now we're reinstalling the bolts for the rear cover. I just got done cleaning the bolts off. They had a bunch of dried thread locker on there, so I cleaned them off just like the bolts before. And now we're gonna put some new thread locker on there. I used blue Loctite, just a little dab will do. And then we're gonna go ahead and reinstall them and then retorque them. And the torque for this steering cover right here is 65 foot-pounds or 88 Newton meters. All right, everything's all torqued now. We're gonna go ahead and reinstall the drain plug. We're just gonna clean it off. It had a bunch of old like thread sealant on there. Just gonna clean it nicely, and then we're gonna put some thread tape back on and then reinstall it and then torque it down. So this drain plug doesn't get torqued down very much at all. The torque spec for this is about 10 foot-pounds or 15 Newton meters. The gear oil I like to use is Lucas Full Synthetic. It's a 75W90 gear oil, and you use half a quart or just about half a liter. I like to fill it right when a little bit comes out of the drain plug. Then after that, the fill plug gets torqued down to about 10 foot-pounds or 15 Newton meters. Alrighty, so that's pretty much it for this job, guys. It wasn't too hard. It was actually kind of fun. You know, nothing was too much of a pain in the ass to get off or anything like that. And it's nothing too crazy. I feel like even people that are just getting their hands on like doing some mechanic stuff can probably do this. It's just it's nothing too bad. Definitely have a torque wrench though for all of this. But yeah, this is definitely something that should be done at least once a year. Like I said before, if you're driving your truck every single day, maybe twice a year, it only takes like maybe an hour and a half per hub. So, you know, if you're limited on time, you could probably just get by with doing one a day and, you know, break it up into 4 days. And that doesn't make it too bad or take too much time out of one certain day if you're limited on time. So, but yeah, this is definitely something you guys should do, especially if you're new truck owners. If you just got your truck from the auction site, I'd highly recommend this. It's important for your guys' safety when driving your truck and reliability. So go ahead and give this a shot. If you need help, I got my phone number down in the description. You give me a call. I could video chat with you or send you pictures or anything if you need any assistance with this. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to go ahead and just clean up the hubs a little bit and throw a fresh coat of paint on there before I throw the rims and tires on. And don't forget to try putting some anti-seize on your guys' lug nut threads. It definitely helps out a lot. And I think it's a good, quick little job you can do on your truck. So thanks for watching, guys. I think the next video, I just got a big shipment of tires in, so we're gonna be putting all new tires on all these trucks. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that and dive into swapping some tires around. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully that helped some of you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.